Now, when the Kansas City Chiefs traded for Kadarius Toney last season, I was like, oh snap. Here the New York Giants go, giving Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid more weapons when they already have a bag full of riches. And Kadarius Toney, he had a pretty small role in this offense last year. You got to look at when they acquired him near the middle of the season. So he was still learning the playbook on the fly. He was still learning and getting chemistry down packed with Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid was still trying to figure out how to maximize his talent and how to get the most of him. But you saw what he did in the Super Bowl when he had that big electric punt return. And Kadarius Toney, man, if this guy can stay healthy, he can end up being a little bit similar to what Tyreek Hill was. Now, he doesn't have the kind of speed that Tyreek Hill had. Nobody really has. Tyreek Hill is the fastest player in the NFL. But when you look at what he can do after the catch, he's going to give you a lot of those big explosive plays with the ball in his hands, like what Tyreek Hill used to give you. And plus, even though Tyreek Hill is way faster than Kadarius Toney, this dude is way more stickier and shiftier than what Tyreek Hill was. I mean, this dude is the definition of the human joystick. You ever play Madden? You just used to use the juke button on willy-nilly, and I think they have something called the jukebox skill or signature skill or something like that. That's what Kadarius Toney has just in real life. This dude is one of the most elusive football players in the NFL right now. All you got to do is find a way to give this guy the ball. You can get him involved on jet sweeps, gadget plays, bubble screens, slants. It's just anytime this guy gets the ball in his hands, he just makes something big happen after the catch. And if you're wondering if he can end up being the number one wide receiver in Kansas City, there's a strong chance he can. I mean, the talent's there. He's a really good route runner. I think he has pretty solid hands for the most part. There's not really too much that Kadarius Toney can do other than being able to stay healthy, which was a large reason why he ended up getting traded by the New York Giants. He couldn't stay on the field. And you got to remember that this guy was a first-round pick not too long ago. So for the Giants to be willing to part ways with them, considering how bad their wide receiving core was, they kind of had their wide receiving core schemed up and playing at a high level due to Brian Dable's offensive, their offense kind of was really good and elevated due to how good of an OC Brian Dable was. He was able to elevate the talent of the wide receivers, even though it wasn't all that great. So you look at Kadarius Toney, you're giving him to Andy Reid, one of the greatest offensive minds to ever play this game. You're going to have Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football, the best QB in the game right now. Like, all Kadarius Toney needs to be able to do is to stay healthy, and this dude should have a breakout season for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you're somebody who's trying to figure out what's some sleepers, the target in the middle portion of your fantasy football drafts, Kadarius Toney most definitely is that guy who you want to look out for. This dude can do it all. He's a human joystick. It makes him a yak monster. This is somebody who, at the University of Florida, was one of my favorite players to watch, who's like a way better version of Tavon Austin, in my opinion. He's what we all thought Tavon Austin would have been if he was successful at the NFL level. So for Kadarius Toney, man, I expect this dude to have a breakout year for Kansas City in 2023, man. The only thing he really needs to be able to do is to stay healthy. There's so many creative ways that Kansas City can find a way to use this man. Plus, you also got to remember that defenses already have to account for Travis Kelce. Then you also have Justin Ross, who could end up having a big impact on this offense. You still do have Sky Moore going into year 2. So there are a lot of young players on this offense that could end up being in for big seasons. But I think Kadarius Toney is going to be that guy who everybody's going to be paying attention to just because of how talented he is. This dude was a first-round pick for a reason. And during his time for the New York Jets, when he was on the field, he was really productive. This dude had one game during his rookie season when he damn near went for almost 200 yards in the game. That's just how good this guy is when he really gets going. So if Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes can find a way to get this dude rolling in this offense, the NFL better watch out. The biggest question that people have about Kansas City going into this season is going to be who's going to step up at wide receiver. If Kadarius Toney can stay healthy, I think he's going to be that guy who ends up having that number one role in that offense, and he could be used in a similar way like how Tyreek Hill was before he got traded to the Miami Dolphins.